All right, guys, let me give you some Israel updates. We got a lot going on. We have to play catch up on this issue. There's been so much going on in U.S. politics with Biden stepping down and Trump getting shot that, this has sort of taken a back seat. But as I always say, genocide shouldn't ever take a back seat. Like, that's the number one story, no matter what the fuck else is going on, right? That's the number one story, genocide. And it's happening right in front of our eyes. First, let's start with this. Israel's Knesset votes to reject Palestinian statehood. The resolution says the creation of a Palestinian state would pose an existential danger to Israel. Isn't that ironic? Israel is saying a Palestinian state is an existential danger to them. Meanwhile, in reality, they are the existential danger to Palestinians. So yet again, it's like playing the victim as they are the oppressor. All right, let me give you the numbers. This is really something. Israel's parliament passed a resolution that overwhelmingly rejected the establishment of a Palestinian state, Israeli media reported. The resolution passed in the Knesset with 68 votes in favor and just 9 against. 68 in favor and 9 against. By the way, those 9, my understanding is that this mostly came from the few Arab parties. So in other words, even the so-called, Netanyahu's liberal opposition, they're like, yeah, no, fuck it, never a Palestinian state. Let me start here. It said that a Palestinian state would pose an existential danger to the state of Israel and its citizens, perpetuate the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and destabilize the region. So they're saying if we grant a Palestinian state, that perpetuates the conflict and destabilizes the region. Nothing could fix the conflict quicker. Nothing could stabilize the region quicker. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition with far-right parties co-sponsored the resolution. Opposition leader Yair Lapid's center-left party left the session to avoid supporting the statement. So the opposition to Netanyahu, they were just like, we're going to tap out. We're not even going to be here for the vote. That's unbelievable. And Benny Gantz, who's also viewed as somebody who could be next in line after Netanyahu, he voted in favor of saying no Palestinian state. Jesus Christ. Now, by the way, Yair Lapid, he previously said he favored a two-state solution. Now, when it comes time to vote on it, he's gonzo. Mustafa Barghouti, the Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative, slammed the passing of the resolution. No Zionist party from both the government and the opposition voted against the resolution, he wrote. This resolution represents a rejection of peace with Palestinians and official declaration of the death of the Oslo Agreement. So guys, this is not going to be brought up in the context of the United States, in U.S. media, among U.S. politicians. This is not going to be brought up. This is going to be ignored. But the fact of the matter is, this is Israel saying, we are not partners for peace. We don't want peace. We have zero interest in peace. We have zero interest in a just resolution and human rights and civil rights and voting rights and sovereignty and independence for the Palestinian people. They are saying all those things that we say about Hamas, we're the same. We're just equal and opposite. Because they always say, Hamas, we don't have a partner for peace. These guys are terrorists. These guys don't even want a negotiated settlement. Well, you tell me, 186,000 Palestinians killed according to The Lancet, so many women and children, and you say no state for Palestine ever? You're the equal and opposite of Hamas. You are not a partner for peace. Nobody should negotiate with you in good faith because you're not negotiating in good faith. What it's going to take is the international community or the United States finally putting Israel in its place, treating them like the toddler throwing the tantrum that they are. We're not interested in your opinion. We're not interested in your take. We are going to force peace upon you. If that takes every country cutting off trade with you, so be it. If that takes the United States sanctioning you, so be it. If that takes us arresting your war criminal leaders, so be it. We are going to make it so you have no choice but to seek peace because they are not ever going to do it on their own, and they're screaming it from the rooftops. And again, it's going to be ignored in U.S. media. It's going to be ignored by U.S. politicians, and you'll still have Democratic politicians in the U.S. say, at some point in the future, we should start a process to eventually get to a Palestinian state. Well, Israel is saying, we have no interest in that. We're not going to do that. Don't bring it up. Not interested. So what are you interested in? We know the answer. Permanent occupation. Permanent apartheid. Ethnic cleansing and genocide. And a mix thereof. Maybe people fall at different places on that spectrum, but that's what they want. And they could not make it more clear. So the ICJ, this is interesting timing too, the ICJ came out and said, the International Court of Justice, Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands is unlawful and breaches laws concerning apartheid. The top UN court says Israel's decade-long occupation of Palestinian territories should be brought to an end as rapidly as possible. So yet again, we have Israel making a mockery of international law, along with the U.S., as we often do, right? And they're saying, look, this isn't open to debate anymore. We heard the case. We looked at the evidence. You are doing illegal occupation and apartheid, period. They also went on to say you should help rebuild and pay reparations to Palestinians for everything that you've done. That's what they said. Now, in every article I read on this, they say it's like a non-binding decision. But yet again, here we have an international legal body saying, bro, you are 100% in the wrong, and you got to fucking stop ASAP. Yet again, let me reiterate, I don't think you're going to see much about this in U.S. media, and you're certainly going to hear nothing about it from U.S. politicians. They're going to continue to arm and fund Israel as they do their ethnic cleansing and genocide, even though the international community is screaming, don't do it, can't do it. So, look, my reaction to this is law and order. Law and order. Let's actually implement law and order against a rogue terror state, which is making crystal clear they never have any interest in peace whatsoever. They want to kill more women. They want to kill more children. They want to bomb more infrastructure. They want to destroy Gaza. They want to continue to occupy the West Bank. And under Trump administration, Miriam Adelson wants the annexation of the West Bank. And Trump took the millions of dollars, and he's probably going to deliver for Netanyahu. Hey, that's actually all Israel's now. So go ahead and do an ethnic cleansing now in the West Bank too. All right, now let's talk about this, man. Let's talk about this. So there was a drone attack on Tel Aviv, and the drone attack was done by the Houthis, Yemen's Houthis. Now, it looks like whatever drone they used is this new technology where they somehow made it a stealth drone where Israel's security could not pick it up, that there was about to be an attack. So this is actually really, really interesting in the sense that Israel failed here at keeping themselves safe. So this is in Al Jazeera. A drone attack on Israel's Tel Aviv leaves 1 dead and at least 10 injured. Israel's military says it's investigating the attack and why the country's defenses failed to intercept the aerial target. Yemen's Houthi group has claimed responsibility for an apparent drone attack on Tel Aviv, Israel, which killed 1 person and injured at least 10. A spokesperson for the Houthi armed forces said in a post on social media on Friday that the Iran-aligned group had targeted Tel Aviv and occupied Palestine. It claimed that it used a new drone capable of bypassing interceptor systems and being unable to be detected by radars. The Israeli military said it opened an investigation into the large explosion near the United States Embassy office in the city and would determine why the country's air defense systems were not activated to intercept the aerial target. So, look, it looks like maybe they were trying to target the U.S. Embassy, but they didn't actually get the U.S. Embassy. We're talking about a large UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle, that can fly large distances, a military official told a briefing for a journalist following the strike. We're not ruling out any possibilities right now. Israel's Air Force has increased patrols to protect the country's skies, the military said in a post on social media. Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, promised retaliation. We will settle the score with anyone who harms the state of Israel or directs terror against it. Israeli police said the body of a man was found in an apartment close to the explosion, and that the circumstances were being investigated. Footage from the site of the blast showed broken glass strewn across pavements as crowds of onlookers gathered near a building bearing blast marks. The site was sealed off by police tape. So again, Yemen's Houthis somehow were able to attack Tel Aviv with like a stealth drone, and it looks like they were trying to get to the U.S. Embassy, but missed the U.S. Embassy and got, I think, apartment buildings. Okay, so then Israel strikes Houthi targets in Yemen a day after drone attack on Tel Aviv. So, by the way, look at this picture, bro. Look at this picture. They went Inski. I mean, they really, really leveled the area here. The Israeli military said on Saturday that it had struck targets in the Houthi-controlled regions of Yemen, close to the port city of Hodeidah. Following the months-long series of Houthi attacks on Israeli targets, those included a drone assault on Tel Aviv Friday that killed an Israeli citizen and injured 10 others. In what is called an operational update posted on social media, the Israeli Defense Forces said the locations bombed by its fighter jets in Yemen had been military targets. That's not exactly true, as we'll get to. A spokesperson for the Houthis posted on social media that the Israeli jets had attacked civilian facilities, oil tanks, and the electrical power station in the city of Hodeidah in an effort to pressure the group to end its support for Gaza. Something the spokesperson, who goes by the online handle Abdul Salam Salah, said was a dream that will not come true. So anyway, so that's what happened. Israel did a retaliatory strike, and in the retaliatory strike, the Houthis say that Israeli jets attacked civilian facilities, oil tanks, and the electrical power station in the city of Hodeidah. That's their port city, by the way. That's where they get a lot of their imports. So the classic Israeli fashion. In retaliation, they raise the stakes. They kill more civilians. They bomb civilian infrastructure. And by the way, like I pointed out, I think the Houthis were attempting to get the U.S. embassy, but they weren't able to, and they got apartment buildings nearby. So there were civilians who were hurt in Israel. And Israel's reaction to that was, we're also going to kill even more civilians on your side and bomb civilian infrastructure. So, look, yet again, this is what we've been warning about for such a long time, whether it's with Israel and the Houthis, or if it's with Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon, worried about a tit for tat, spiraling out of control, getting worse and worse. And then we're at a point where Israel is at war, not only with Hamas in Gaza, they're killing massive numbers of civilians, but also the Shia militias in Iraq, Shia militias elsewhere, the Houthis and Hezbollah in Lebanon. So, and they literally come out and say, I think one of the top Israeli officials came out and said, we're fighting a 7-front war. That's what they said. And again, the U.S. keeps arming them, keeps funding them, keeps giving them a pat on the back, keeps giving them a green light. When the Houthis have made crystal clear, by the way, we will stop seizing the ships that are going to Israel, doing our attacks against you. We will stop the second you guys have a ceasefire and have a deal and stop massacring Palestinian civilians. That's what they've said. They've said that repeatedly. And by the way, the few times that there was a ceasefire, what happened? Immediately, the Houthis stopped seizing the ships. They stopped with their attacks. And so, but no, we never get to go in that direction. Instead, every day we watch a slow motion genocide happening in Gaza, and you have these efforts on the part of Hezbollah or the Houthis to try to punch the schoolyard bully a little bit, but then it gets escalated again, and the schoolyard bully returns and starts massacring everything in sight. All right, now let's move on to this. So this was in Politico, mainstream U.S. outlet. Look at this. These trauma surgeons thought they'd seen the worst of the worst, but nothing they'd experienced prepared them for the horrors they found in Gaza as civilians and children suffer under Israel's bombing campaign. Okay, this is from that piece. We started seeing a series of children, preteens mostly, who'd been shot in the head. They'd go on to slowly die, only to be replaced by new victims who'd also been shot in the head and who would also go on to slowly die. Their families told us one of two stories. The children were playing inside when they were shot by Israeli forces, or they were playing in the street when they were shot by Israeli forces. I mean, we've given you the horror stories. From very early on in this thing, they ran out of anesthesia in Gaza. They ran out of it. And so you had kids getting arms and legs amputated with no anesthesia. Every single day, there were children losing limbs, having them amputated. No pain relief. I mean, this is hell on earth. Of course, you have the starving of people. Of course, you have the civilian infrastructure being bombed everywhere, hospitals, schools. There's the video that came out of these kids walking down like a dirt path. Young kids walking down a dirt path. An Israeli drone assassinates them. I mean, again, we see this every single day. We see this every single day. And you have Euromed Monitor, the human rights group, says nearly 50,000 people have died. That's their direct count, their numbers, including what they think is the dead under the rubble. But then you have medical journals like The Lancet that did a study. They said the death rate is probably about 186,000. We're looking at mass death and destruction, the likes of which I've certainly never seen this purposefully, right? I've never seen it this purposefully. It is absolutely disturbing. All right, this one, I wanted to share this with you. This was in The Guardian. Royal Academy revokes Gaza-inspired works after Jewish group flags concerns. Gallery apologizes for any hurt and distress as 2 artworks withdrawn from young artist summer show. Cultural erasure is a common act during genocide. The same group that felt delighted that children artwork was removed from a hospital last year. So again, this is it's smearing anything and everything that stands up for innocent Palestinians as anti-Semitic and emotionally distressful. And you got to pull it down. pull down this Gaza-inspired artwork. I mean, it's gross. So Jeremy Scahill from Dropsite News, Israel is reviewing a proposal to install a, quote, moderate Muslim puppet regime in Gaza. The plan, which Israeli officials call brilliant, calls for re-educating Palestinians, destroying UNRWA, and raising refugee camps. Yeah, I'm sure that, Israel is looking out for the best interest of the Palestinians in Gaza, and I'm sure that this is going to be a reasonable system that they want to set up. Look, this is just a continuation of the occupation, not giving sovereignty, not giving independence, not giving them political rights and human rights. It's just a continuation. Finally, let's watch some of this. So Gaza, this is just in the last day. Israel launches new assault on eastern Khan Younis, at least 45 Palestinians killed and dozens injured. 400,000 displaced Palestinians sheltering in Khan Younis given no time to evacuate as Israel launches air attacks and artillery minutes after orders. Israel targets and kills journalists at Al-Aqsa Hospital with drone strike on tent. 53 dead and dozens more injured since the morning. Okay, so let me zoom this in just a touch, and then let's watch this.
Thanks for joining us. The death toll in Gaza is rising quickly after Israel launched a new military operation in the city of Khan Younis. At least 39 people have been killed. Dozens are wounded and have been taken to hospital. Palestinians say they were given no time at all to find safety. Israeli forces started to bomb the area just moments after they issued an evacuation order. In Houthi reports from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza.
Airstrikes on Khan Younis, and then, as always, the casualties, brought to hospitals in the back of cars. Inside, the dead lay on the floor, a familiar scene in Gaza. There is no room to spare.
6 of my family were killed. My son and his wife, together with their 3 daughters and son, were all killed. What wrong did those innocent children do? The missile landed in our neighbor's house. I ran out to see my sisters, my nephews and nieces all lying on the ground, torn to pieces. The mother was also killed. Her stomach was ripped open. They were all women, their young innocent children, their body parts all over the place.
More ambulances arrive at Nasser Hospital. The attack came minutes after an Israeli warning to leave. Not enough time for those people to escape. Thousands of others rushed to get out, forcibly displaced time and time again. Told to leave, then bombed. It's a vicious cycle of brutality.
A family was sleeping and they hit him. They were children. This is the American Nazism. This is the Netanyahu Nazism.
Israel carried out attacks elsewhere. This time outside Al-Aqsa Hospital in Deir al-Balah, a drone strike hitting a tent used by journalists.
The strike hit was only 20 meters away where our team was based next to the hospital. The strike was so strong that a couple of my colleagues were knocked off their feet. This is meant to be a safe space next to the hospital's compound.
Back in Khan Younis, this man mourns his dead wife. Where is our mother? They ask him. She was killed. Her body is inside the car trunk, he tells him. And from here, she will be taken to be buried. They mourn as she's driven away, clinging on to their final moments with her. Hind Khudari, Al Jazeera, Deir al-Balah, Gaza, Palestine.
They have fully dehumanized Palestinians. They don't look at them as human. They look at them as vermin. They look at them as cockroaches. They look at them as subhuman. And don't take my word for it. Take their own words for it. We've played for you the compilations on this show of top Israeli officials saying the most genocidal things I've ever heard in my life. They floated even nuking Gaza like it's yeah, of course, that's a solution. Let's do that. They openly talk about resettling Gaza, talking about reoccupying it, voluntary migration, which is another word for ethnic cleansing. And by the way, that's the liberals in this circumstance. The liberals. The more conservative ones like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are like, hey, you know these concentration camps that we set up where we're torturing Palestinians day in and day out? Let's just give them all the death penalty. In other words, let's literally copy Adolf Hitler and the Nazis and use that as a final solution. I don't know how much more the world needs to see before they pound the gavel on this and say, we're done here. By the way, the ICC and the ICJ, they are pounding the gavel on it. They are saying we're done here. They are saying Israel has no interest in peace. Israel themselves are coming out. The Knesset is saying never a Palestinian state ever. So they are not a partner for peace. Look, I'm going to say this as simply as possible. When Netanyahu comes to the U.S. to give a speech, number one, there's going to be a massive protest. I hope he's not able to get remotely near the Capitol. I hope it's impossible for him to get near the Capitol. I hope there are so many people, and it's so overwhelming, that it's not possible for him to get there. That's point number one. Point number two is he needs to get arrested when he comes here. He needs to get arrested. We can't sit by and watch this like it's nothing. if Adolf Hitler, in the midst of his Holocaust, came to deliver a speech to Congress, right, I would hope people would have the courage to not only block him from giving the speech, but arrest his ass. Lock him up. Lock up Ben-Gvir, lock up Smotrich, lock up the top Israeli generals. Lock him up. Lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. We absolutely positively need new leadership, and we need, fuck just the new leadership, because they're not in favor of a Palestinian state either. We also need outside pressure put on Israel. Whether it's sanctions, whether it's totally economically isolating them, you need to impose a peace from the outside and give them no choice, give them no option. Because free of their own volition, they're going to continue with this. And we all have to sit here and pretend like this is normal or this is a war. Does this look like a war to you? I've never seen a less war-y war than this. This is a slaughter. These are war crimes on top of war crimes on top of war crimes. This is genocide. It's time to call a spade. And instead, what's happening? This story is sort of like fading away. People aren't really talking about it as much anymore. Trump nearly got assassinated. Biden just stepped down. So this is taking a back seat. It shouldn't take a back seat. This is the number one issue. And by the way, progressives in the U.S. shouldn't back any candidate unless and until they give their word that they're going to stop arming and funding and supporting Israel. Right? They need to, at the very least, cut off the weapons. At the very least, cut off the weapons. At the very least, exert pressure to force a solution. If they're not going to do that, then there's no reason to fall in line. There's no reason to act like this is a normal time with a normal candidate. Adam Johnson was talking about this on Twitter the other day. He's 100% right. The only person who's doing that right now, by the way, is Rashida Tlaib, the one Palestinian American who's like, okay, yeah, maybe I could see myself supporting Kamala, but I need a guarantee that the policy on Gaza is not going to continue. So we'll see. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.